Have you ever wondered what's the best software for live streaming? In today's video, I'm going to be comparing the top live streaming software to help you decide which one is best for your workflow. Just to be clear, there's no perfect live streaming tool. However, in this video, I'm going to try my best to give you and show you all the cons and pros for all the software that I'm going to be talking about today. In fact, I'm going to be comparing OBS versus StreamYard versus Riverside versus Ecamm Live versus Evmux. And obviously there are so many other tools out there, but I would say these are like the most used tools or softwares by creators. So hopefully if you're trying to decide which one you should be using for your workflow, I'm gonna be able to help you. So let's not take much time, let's get right into it. What is going on, guys? My name is Sam. You're watching live production tips and tools helping you master live streaming. Before we start, just want to let you know that this video was sponsored by Riverside. However, I'm gonna be giving you guys all the cons and the pros for all the softwares that I'm gonna be talking about today, so you can choose which one is actually best for your workflow. I'm also gonna give you my personal experience with each of the softwares that I'm gonna be talking about. So starting with OBS. Now, if you don't know OBS, first of all, it's an open source software, 100% free, so you don't have to pay anything, but you will have to install into your computer. Some of the softwares that you're gonna see on this list can actually run through a browser, which means basically if you run it through a browser, something like Google Chrome, you're not gonna need a super powerful computer. But if you have to install the software like OBS, you're gonna need to have a super powerful computer that can handle OBS with a good graphics card. Now, OBS, just to give you an example, this is what it looks like. I have a lot of tutorials about OBS. Obviously, if you're interested, I can recommend some. Just let me know in the comment section. However, this is what it looks like, a typical OBS show. You can see like I have an intro here. You know, you can decide to set it up in a way that you want. You can play back videos. You can do a lot of stuff in OBS really, and be able to live stream to YouTube, Facebook, any platform that you want, including custom RTMP. So now OBS is really flexible, and it has a big community of plugins. Out of the box, it's not gonna do everything that you need. However, you can find a huge community where you can actually get to download free plugins that will help you do things like multi-streaming that's not built into it. Be able to bring in guests using some external tools like Video Ninja. So many tools and plugins that you can use and integrate into OBS and actually make it powerful. However, one of the cons, obviously, the fact that it doesn't have everything built into it. It's gonna have a steep learning curve, especially for beginners. And obviously, if you are into podcasting and bringing in guests for live streaming and things like that, you're not gonna have a built-in tool to be able to do that. So you're gonna rely on external tools, you know, with things like Video Ninja to do that, which kind of gets a little complicated for most people. As I also mentioned, that it does not have any multi-streaming tool that's kind of built in. You have to also rely on plugins. But other than that, it's a cool software. It's also available on both Mac and Windows, which is kind of cool. Now, our next tool is gonna be Riverside, which is a sponsor of this video. Thank you, Riverside, for sponsoring us. Full disclosure, by the way, I've been using Riverside. I paid for it, so it was not like something that was offered to me for a long time. Now, I'm a heavy user of OBS. If you're familiar with my channel, you know that I have a lot of tutorials, like hundreds of tutorials about OBS and how to use it for live streaming. However, even myself, a big heavy user of OBS, I actually switched to Riverside when it comes to podcasting and a little bit of live streaming. Why did I switch to Riverside? It's because of one of their core features called local recording. Now, local recording is different from ISO recording that you can find in StreamYard and some other tools that we're going to talk about, like Ecamm Live. Why? Because local recording that Riverside has, which is like their bread and butter kind of thing, is the ability to be able to have a guest and then get to record. So when you record, it's going to do the ISO recording, which is like recording separately two feeds. So it record my feed as the host and the guest feed. However, it's gonna record that feed to the guest computer locally, and it's gonna record my feed as a host on my local computer. So if your internet is bad and it's something like, they say even sometimes you can have your internet to completely drop and the recording is gonna keep going, right? And then, obviously you want to make, because you need to be able to communicate, right, when you're recording a podcast. And then eventually, let's say you have a poor internet connection, and what's going to happen is like Riverside is going to keep recording regardless. And then once you're done recording your podcast, it's going to be able to upload that clean recording from the guest computer and your computer, right, to the cloud, so you can actually download both feeds, both audio and video separately, and recorded in the highest quality, actually up to 4K, by the way, guys, up to 4K, which is really, really good, right? So if you have a bad internet connection, it still doesn't matter. You're still gonna get a clean recording. So that's the beauty of Riverside. Also, when it comes to bringing in guests, as you can see, there's this link right here. If I click copy this link and I send it to someone, they're gonna be able to join the studio, which is really, really cool. Now I can use, once they join the studio, I can use it either, the show, either set it up for live streaming, or I can set it up to just record if I was recording a podcast, which is really cool. Now, since this video is about live streaming, you can still live stream using Riverside. Although it was kind of, when they started, I think they mastered podcasting, but now they actually have introduced live streaming. And if I can show you guys real quick, if I go here to settings, you can see that I have this tab here called live streaming. And as you can see, you can go live to YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and you can even do custom RTMP. I've tested it. It works. You can also have like all the layouts. You can bring in comments, you can add banners, you can bring in media, you can share your screen. But on the top of doing that, what Riverside actually has, now they have some editing tools, all right, and some of them involve actually AI. So they have integrated AI. If you want to do clips, so let's say you did a long live stream or a long recording of a podcast and you want to cut it into small clips, what we call viral clips. Sometimes those clips may not go viral, but yeah. So it's gonna use AI to be able to give you small clips you can use to repurpose, and it's gonna reframe it. So it's gonna reframe and crop in and actually give you really good clips you can use for social media. Now on the top of that, it's got this built-in with multi-track built-in editing workflow, which is really cool. It also got this new thing called co-creator. Basically, it's like being able to type in a prompt. So let's say you did the recording and then you go here under co-creator, you can actually ask it to create some stuff for you. So if I click to suggestions here, you can ask it to create a promo trailer, you can ask it to create magic clips, you can ask it to create a thumbnail, you can ask it to create a description for your episode. I mean, so many cool things, guys, that you can do in Riverside that I won't go through, but in summary, it's really, Riverside is a complete tool from recording, podcasting, live streaming, clipping, editing, and publishing. You're gonna find everything really inside Riverside. Now, this is a web browser based software, which means it's gonna work with both Mac and Windows, which is really cool. So when it comes to pricing, you can see it has two main tiers. The first one is $29 per month. And you also have, which gives you most of the things that you need, guys. But if you want to take it to the next level, especially for if you want to include live streaming and some 4K video quality, the highest audio quality that you can get, obviously. Again, I will let you guys go through this with those AI tools and teleprompter. It's just a lot of features, guys, you can get inside Riverside. You're gonna go ahead and actually get the live plan, which is $39. Again, go check it out and compare to the tools that I already talked about. And of course, the next tool that we're gonna be talking about is gonna be StreamYard. Now, StreamYard, this is what the interface of StreamYard actually looks like. StreamYard is a web browser based software, which means it's gonna be running through your browser, things like Google Chrome or any other browser that's supported. And also that means it can run on either Mac or Windows. It doesn't matter. As long as a computer has a browser, StreamYard should be able to run in there. Right now, StreamYard is very easy to use if you are doing things like, podcasting or bringing in guests. It's actually made specifically for things like that, mostly for bringing in guests. And of course, it's got multi-streaming, so you can multi-stream to multiple destinations. As you can see, you can add YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, so many destinations really. And the user interface is actually It was kind of designed to be super easy. You can bring in comments, you can display banners. As you can see, you can bring in upload the videos if you want to play back videos, kind of have some custom backgrounds if you want that. You can change a little bit of the style, the way it shows, and show things like graphics and banners. Obviously, again, if you want to bring in guests, you can actually, if I go here, click copy this link right here, I can send it to someone and they're gonna be able to join the studio. And I can actually do some layouts here where I can have a guest on screen and having an interaction and things like that, which is kind of cool. You also have built-in comments where people if you live, people can leave comments and you're gonna be able to display them on the live stream. Now, when it comes to the video quality, obviously this is web browser based, so it's not gonna be super wow. It's not gonna be as flexible as OBS, and it's gonna be really limited. If you can see the user interface, it's got you can see that it's really simple. And again, it was kind of made, I think when they started, they wanted to make it as easy as possible to use. But now, ever StreamYard got acquired by another company, and that company, they're trying to push it. Actually, as you can see, they're adding some new stuff to make it more customizable. However, the fact that it was actually acquired, it also made it super expensive. So one of the downsides of StreamYard, again, that most of people will be actually turned off because of that, I think, is the pricing. Right now, if you look at the pricing, actually the core plan, which is after the free plan is really just for testing. You can see that it's actually $44 the core plan, which gives you full HD and just basic streaming and things like that, be able to bring in guests. Now, if you want the best features out of StreamYard, obviously I'll let you go ahead and go to streamyard.com/plan. You can actually see that to get 4K local recording and things like multi-streaming to 8 destinations or adding an extra camera. If you want to get the best, which is the most popular, you're gonna have to pay almost $89 per month. So to be honest, StreamYard is the most expensive, and yet, yes, it does the job. It can live stream and do most of the things that you need, but it's not super customizable. That's the downside of it. And the pricing, really, I still feel like it's just too expensive compared to some of the tools, some other tools that we're gonna check out. And obviously, compared to OBS, you cannot even compare, because OBS is free as far as pricing is concerned. Now, for StreamYard, also when it comes to editing, obviously in OBS you cannot edit. When it comes to StreamYard, is the editing suite of StreamYard is really basic. So I wouldn't really recommend it unless you just need a quick clip, because if you do vertical, it doesn't even do it does vertical, but it still keeps the horizontal framing and then it doesn't crop it. So I would say that's another limitation when it comes to StreamYard. Now our next tool is gonna be Ecamm Live. Now, if I'm being 100% honest, guys, I haven't really been using Ecamm Live that much. I do have my computer, which is gonna be the first point I'm gonna tell you guys. Ecamm Live is only, first of all, it has to be installed inside your computer, so it's not gonna be a web browser based kind of software. Second, it's Mac only, so it's not work on Windows. So if you have a Windows machine, this is probably not your software. However, it's a powerful software. I have a lot of creators who are my friends that use Ecamm Live and they really love it. Now, I'm gonna tell you some of the pros and cons, starting with the pricing. By the way, the standard version is actually $20 per month. And basically just gonna give you the most basic usability of Ecamm. Okay, now if you want to take it to the next level to be able to bring in guests, because it has the guest feature, which I think you're probably gonna need if you are into live streaming, you're gonna have to pay $40 per month. All right, so for $40 per month, you're gonna get what they call Ecamm for Zoom. You're gonna get Ecamm Live Interview, which is the feature to be able to bring in guests. In my opinion, I think it's a must. And it's got 4K live streaming if you need 4K live streaming, and live video monitoring to any display. It's got ISO recording. But if I was to actually give you a quick difference between ISO recording that we have in Ecamm and the local recording that we have in Riverside, ISO recording is just gonna allow you to record it. Say you have a guest, it's gonna record your feed separately and your guest feed separately. But if your guests have an internet problem and you glitch, or they are glitching or anything, it's still gonna record that feed the way it is. So it's depending on the internet connection of that guest or even your internet connection. However, with the local recording with Riverside, it's exactly almost the same thing. The only difference, as I told you guys, it's not depending on your internet connection. It's recording locally on your guest machine and your machine, and then after the show is going to upload those files into your studio, which is really cool. So that's the big difference. That's why Riverside kind of dominate on that feature, and that's actually why I started using Riverside, if I was to be honest. So as far as you know, Ecamm Live doesn't have any editing capabilities or any clipping capabilities and things like that, or any built-in AI tools for editing and clipping and things like that, obviously. Now, next up, we're gonna go to the other software, which is Evmux. Now, Evmux is also browser-based. This is like the biggest competitor to StreamYard. Evmux, when we look at the pricing, also offers a basic plan for $25 per month, and the pro plan, which is the most popular and the highest so far, which is $49. Now, as you can see, it's a little more expensive compared to Riverside. However, compared to StreamYard, it's way cheaper. Okay, so that's why I'll say, Evmux is actually the biggest competitor of StreamYard. And of course, Riverside now is a player. So when it comes to live streaming, now when it comes to podcasting, it's like if you do a little bit of podcasting or you're doing podcasting and live streaming, obviously Riverside is gonna be a no-brainer. Again, I'm kind of biased because this video is sponsored by Riverside, but again, I don't want to make a decision for you. Just check it out, check out the features, and you tell me. All right, so now this is what the interface of Evmux is gonna look like. Obviously, this is like the studio kind of thing. It's got like some studio mode. You can switch between studio mode and kind of, single normal mode. When Evmux started, it's like they wanted to take OBS into a browser. So they tried to make it a little more, compared to StreamYard, a little more customizable, a little more pro. And that's why they come up with scenes, what they call pro scenes, which allows you to create different layouts manually by cropping and adding different elements and different layers, and they really did a great job. You can get like built-in comments and things like that. You can multi-stream, obviously. If you want to multi-stream to multiple destinations, you can do vertical streaming or horizontal streaming if you want to do that as well, which is cool. And they really did a great job to make kind of like take StreamYard and then add an extra layer or an extra level of customization, right? So if you need that customization but still stay in the browser-based kind of ecosystem, right? I think Evmux, that's why it kind of shines. But again, same thing with the OBS. It may be overwhelming if you are a beginner, right, to learn, compared to something like StreamYard, which is kind of like easy to use. So I would encourage you to kind of decide, about what you want. You want something like, do you learn fast, or like, are you like a complete beginner? You want something super, super easy, but also like looking at the budget. Are you looking for something like, super inexpensive? Are you looking for something for free? All of that. There's so many things to consider. However, another thing that I wanted to tell you about Evmux, obviously, is going to allow you to bring in guests. So that's not going to be a problem. You can just send a link, and then a guest is gonna be able to join, and you can have a conversation, share your screen. Most of the things you can do in StreamYard, you're gonna be able to do in Evmux, plus the level of customization is gonna be even on the higher level. Now, when it comes to editing, Evmux is not gonna be super wow when it comes to like clipping and things like that. Again, it's gonna just be basic. So back to Riverside, that's where Riverside is going to even shine again. And things like local recording or ISO recording, same thing in Evmux. You're gonna get ISO recording, but I don't believe they have the local recording feature, which is where again Riverside does shine. So overall, if you need an all-in-one tool to be able to podcast, do local recording and ISO recording, get 4K, that's not super expensive, that can work on either Mac or Windows basically, and it's not installed on your computer, it's gonna be really running through a browser, which means you're not gonna need a super powerful computer, and you want the live streaming capabilities, obviously, and all the editing and AI integration they have built into Riverside, including clipping, right? Being able to clip all those long live streams or podcast recordings into clips that you can repurpose on social media, including text-based streaming, guys. Like basically Riverside is like they combine multiple tools into one tool. This is where Riverside is gonna be a no-brainer. All right, and you can actually go ahead and try it for free and see if it's good for you. And if you decide to grab any plan, you can actually use a code that they gave me to give it to you guys to be able to get 15% off. So the code is gonna be live production, so use that code. You're gonna get 15% off to apply to any paid plan that you're gonna pick up. So link in description. Or still feel free to check out some other tools. Again, you can even use multiple tools. Like personally, I use a combination of OBS and Riverside. You can also obviously check out Ecamm Live, StreamYard, and Evmux. Hoping this video was super helpful to help you decide which one is best for you. So let me know guys in the comment section which software you're gonna be using. Other than that, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care.